Another artist was accused of using AI in their process, and they put out a statement that people aren't really believing. So let's take a look at this. There was this call out posted November 14th by user Ben Sadfleck on Twitter. Before we get into this, disclaimer, please don't send hate to any parties involved. We're not like this. Two, let's just ignore my face here. I am recovering from wisdom teeth removal and my acne's been bad. I don't want to wear any foundation. It's going to make my acne worse. Yeah, so ignore this. Ben writes, AI accusations can be dangerous, so I've tried to gather enough evidence from their own clients to be 100% sure. And the artist that is being debated in question is an artist by the name of Deli_Mage. Then writes, their first client is already suspecting the use of AI. No sketches or progresses were shown, just the finished piece and the alt version, which is a completely different drawing altogether. So here is the art on the side by side. This is the finished piece in question, and this is the alt piece. I'm a little bit confused about the alt because they offer full color upper body drawing commissions for $80. So is the alt piece like just kind of like a little add-on? Their add-ons basically is just adding extra characters. Or is it like a redraw of the character in a different outfit? I mean, it definitely is the same character, but even if you look at the side by side, the art style is really different from one piece to the next. And this was done in the same commission, like the same batch. Because I mean, even if we look like piece by piece, you put them side by side, right? Like the character is drawn differently in the same commission. Like the skin tone is different. You could be like, okay, maybe it's a lighting thing, but the eyes are rendered differently. Like if we look closely, this eye, it has a bit more of like a semi-realistic eye render where this one looks more cartoonish. The eye colors aren't the same either. And you would be like, okay, maybe it's like the lighting, maybe she's like very, very brightly lit here, but her eyes are like a stormy gray teal where they're very blue in this image. And then again, even the eyelids are rendered differently. This piece has a much more like semi-realism to the rendering style, where this piece is very like 2D and flat. So it's just a bit interesting. Maybe it's an artistic choice. Maybe this was something communicated between client and artist, but you don't necessarily often see in the same commission where it's a set of two art pieces, for one of them being an alternate to the original piece, to have it be two very different styles. So Ben adds, the excuse allegedly is that the artist wanted to try a different style. The client then asked for more evidence and then got this, which completely contradicts the drawing process from the recent time lapse. So this is what was sent to the client. So it's a bit confusing at first, but it's like three screenshots of the canvas. So the canvas looked to have like a bunch of reference photos on the left. And then on the right, this is like the body sketch. This is then the rough, really rough sketch where you can see some of the hair is then blocked in. And this is the more cleaned up rough sketch. Every artist has a different art process. This type of like drawing process is a bit uncommon, where it kind of looks like they're coloring within line art that doesn't exist. But you know, everyone draws differently. But again, take a note of the process. We have sketch, and then on the sketch, a rough color is blocked under it. And then the sketch layer looks to be toggled off, and then more rough colors are blocked over it. But this is a recent time lapse they've posted, and we can watch this time lapse on their page. That is actually not how they color. So maybe the artist is trying specifically a different rendering style just for that commission. But then that again would be kind of odd because like, I don't know, why would you sell an experiment to somebody if that makes sense, right? If you're selling a commission, that likely would be your more formalized or like set style of drawing so that your clients would be guaranteed what they're gonna get. And then if you're gonna experiment with styles, whatever, you would do it not on a paid commission, or at least with the consent of the clients, you know, being like, hey, I'm gonna be experimenting if you're okay with this, so that the client knows what they're getting into. But if you see the way they color in this time lapse, they have the sketch and they essentially paint over the sketch piece by piece. They painted that part of the hair and the skin first, then the upper torso. Their coloring process is also a bit interesting. Take this with a grain of salt. Every time I'm like looking a little bit analytically at like the coloring process, you know, people are like, oh, but I color like this, da 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 da. Everybody colors differently and everybody has their own way of coloring and painting and drawing, and that is completely okay. It's just if you are under some accusation of using AI, we're going to look at everything as a holistic picture. So the rendering process does come into a bit of scrutiny, especially if you sent a rendering process to one person and then the way you post your rendering process, so in this case, the speed paint, is completely different from what you sent to the other person, because then it's going to be like, well, why is it different? So here you can see their way they render is a bit interesting in that they have this like green, baby green color they're using for the sleeve. And then they use this like darker shading color and they just stop rendering the sleeve and they go into using this dark shading color. and then they go back to blocking in more of the baby green. They basically swap back and forth with the colors, but they don't really finish any part of the body. Like, they colored in only a quarter of the chest and they went back to using the dark green again. Some artists do draw like this. It's very uncommon. This is more so, not everybody who draws like this is a tracer, but this is more so what you would see with somebody who is color selecting off of something and painting by color selecting, which is why they're swapping color so frequently without finishing using the green first. They already went to using a different color. And like, again, you can see that here they use navy on part of the skirt. They don't finish the skirt and they immediately go to the leg. Again, some people who are neurodivergent and like, you know, with shorter attention spans, they jump back and forth. It's just not common to see people render like this. Yeah, they basically cleaned it up and finished the rendering like so. So again, the time lapse they've posted is quite different from what they sent the client. Because again, they sent the client this, where they did this like really basic blocky sketch where you can still see the sketch layer, and then they color over it. Then adds, I've contacted the second client, and he also had suspicions on the commission being AI generated or traced. The artist provided the finished drawing ahead of time and even suggested making a drawing with a different style. And here the client adds that they saw a drop in quality. So the artist said, since you gave a tip and your commission is easier, I finished it a little earlier and provided a speed paint. I tried to draw in a pastel watercolor style. If you want changes, a background, or for me to completely redo it in a certain style or pose, don't hesitate to ask. Which also, that's really interesting. I feel like it's not particularly common you see an artist offer to completely redraw their art in a different style. And then they ask if it's okay for them to post it on their Twitter. The client adds, there were a few people ahead of me as well, but then had a turnaround and sent this after only a few days. And then the client adds that it feels like it was done with inconsistent details and maybe a different brush, but then the artist said that it was maybe done in a watercolor style, and the client adds that this was not mentioned in the commission detail, so they were confused. But it's possible their character is different than any reference which AI could be used, which would make it hard to draw. And Ben adds, also no sane artist would send a finished piece and suddenly offer to redo it in a different style. I agree on that too, because like, that's just basically unheard of. Like, hey, I know you paid me for only doing this job, but like, if you don't like it, I will completely redo it in a style that I normally never draw in, just to make you happy. And of course, there are plenty of artists who are willing to bend over backwards to make their client happy. Completely redrawing the piece is not often something that somebody would offer. It's just a lot of work. Ben adds, I'm not suggesting the person lacks any skill in art because they have shown to have rendering skills, but the sudden jump in quality makes this incredibly suspicious. These two drawings are 12 days apart. We see a huge leap in skill and rendering style. We have this cow. It's like rendered well, as in the lighting, the color theory is all really good, but you can see it's a very blocky sketch. The lines are really wobbly, the fence is not straight. And then we have this piece, way more rendered, way more fleshed out, 12 days apart. And then what is interesting is this piece was posted October 12th, the next most recent character they've drawn, which was September 12th. It's a lot less defined, a lot more sketchy in the style. It's not bad by any means, right? Like the story and everything is really good. It's just in 1 month, they improved that rapidly. And again, some people are gonna be like, well, maybe the artist could draw at that skill level, like the Truck Kun piece, and they just never fully rendered a piece out until October, which is possible. But again, like, this seems more indicative of their actual style, because all of their other pieces prior to October look like this. We have a Miku piece that looks like this, another character that looks like this, another piece that looks like this, which is why to me it was more of like an art style thing than they just had all this like rendering skill that they just never showed. You know what I mean? Because again, their art immediately jumped from this and this cow to then we have a piece like this. And then 2 days later, this. And then a couple days later, this piece. And then a couple days later, we have this one. Rapid improvement is not impossible. So going back to the post, Ben writes, going back to the second drawing, like the first client, the artist did not communicate with the client. They only shared a finished piece without consulting the client or sharing a work in progress. And the client adds, I keep going back to the recent one he did for me and it's very inconsistent with a lot of details. This high key isn't how I imagine an artwork of that quality to start off. Like, it looks like he traced a final image and then started coloring over it. But the other sketches look like he tried to make fake progress renders. Then adds, update, a third client reached out to me to share their experience with Mage. I'm sure you've all seen this piece before. Well, it seems like they airbrushed over an AI piece and passed it off as a work in progress. And this one is the piece in question. To me, I'm just a bit suspicious because there's just elements of the piece that don't add up. Like, we have a belt with a strap that hangs down with another belt buckle on the strap. That's not how belts work. You don't have two belt buckles. The crotch seam of the pants, there's also two seams, or I don't know if that's a zipper, but that doesn't make sense as to why there would be a zipper. So this was the colored sketch that was sent to the client. It's again just a bit odd because it kind of again looks like a paint over of a piece and not an actual sketch. And Deli adds, Thank you for the commission. Here's a quick color sketch so far. If you want me to move forward with this or try a different pose, please tell me. And the client added, the art seemed AI, but I gave him the benefit of doubt. I did find something odd. And this is the final piece they sent. And this is the fourth client. So they said, hi, you don't know me, but I also nearly got scammed by Deli Mage. I bought a commission thinking their work looked consistent, but they posted the Rosalina piece and I realized my mistake. To try to prevent me asking a refund, they offered me a speed paint and showed me a work in progress. That made it pretty obvious they were drawing over something AI generated. So here again, we have another sketch. And again, the sketch looks odd. It really looks like they took a piece, color selected a few colors, painted over it. More cleaner paint over off camera or whatever, so they could try to like get away with it. Because the sketch looks so like messy in the coloring, but yet everything is already blocked in perfectly. The shape of the body, the shape of the head, everything else. And the client adds, I wanted to make a post about it warning others, but I caught the whole thing right before I needed to leave on a trip and I didn't want to make a huge post without sufficient evidence. And another person added, guys, please. And it's a close-up of the face of the original commission, where you can see again a lot of the lines and the line work of the piece is really shaky. And there's extra colors again in the piece that don't quite make sense. There's basically a ring of baby orange around only one eye, which is not present around the other eye. I don't know. I feel like if you're able to render at this quality, you know, you're able to deliver a piece rendered with a bodysuit rendered this well, that the line work of the glasses for a finished commission you're delivering a client who paid you would be maybe a little cleaner than this. So this is the Rosalina piece in question that was drawn by Deli Mage, which got 53,000 likes posted November 12th. That also received a lot of comments as well. There's a lot of retweets from people who are saying that this looks AI generated. It just looks very like different from their usual art style. Again, this is not saying that as an artist you cannot experiment with art styles, anything like that, etc. That is not true at all. It's just this person is under suspicion for some sort of AI assistance in their process. So then you're going to scrutinize their entire piece and subsequent pieces. A few things that I personally find a bit interesting is, again, this piece has really pink ears. This is something AI does. I don't know why, but AI will generate pieces with ears that are bright pink. And some people are like, well, this is part of my art style, and that's completely understandable. It's just, if you scroll down Deli's page for their art pieces, that's not part of their art style, at least not in the past. Not prior to suspicions of AI assistance in their work or some sort of AI generation. And again, we do kind of have like another thing where it's like, oh, the characters again having like what looks to be two eyelids, which is something that AI tends to do. Again, could be an eye choice. Maybe this is like a really prominent eye socket, which like some people do have pretty prominent in their face. But then this added on to the fact that their work has experienced a rapid improvement in the period of 1 month. And the rapid improvement also seems to look kind of AI-esque in the process. People have felt some kind of way. And this person adds, AI, by the way, neck below an inconsistent style, plural, multiple lighting errors. And big red flag is sudden style change if you look at their old work. Kid thinks AI is a tool for art when really what it does is take other scrape data to kitbash into things they never made. They added past versus current pieces. AI. Details are starting to get effed with zipper and stuff as well. Sudden realism details that doesn't make sense with zippers. Highlighting and detail F-ups. It came into my feed, so I have to address it. This is the old piece. Remember, I've showed you this piece before. Hive flagged this as 0.6% likely. So it's very likely to be not AI generated. This was a piece posted by them September 12th. Again, this is one of their recent pieces. Again, the sudden very, very drastic improvement in like composition and like rendering and lighting. I say improvement in quotes, right? But then we do have the funky zipper. The zipper teeth do not match up from the left to the right side of the jacket. That's not how zippers work. And the teeth aren't even either. There's also no zipper tab, but maybe the tab's on the bottom on the side. I flag this as 100% likely to be AI generated. Again, AI trains off of actual human work, so there is human work that will get flagged as resembling AI because AI stole from people. But again, in context of talking about how this is a new piece they posted only 1 month later. So then the artist made a statement. The artist writes, I originally didn't want to make this thread. I dislike confrontation and didn't want to validate bad actors by giving a response. But I had it with these AI witch hunters' toxic behavior. The sheer amount of toxicity I've seen makes me livid. To anyone who simply dislikes AI and wants to express that, you're fine. There's a lot of stuff I dislike about AI too. My problem is with people who think it's acceptable to relentlessly harass anyone that could potentially be AI adjacent. I don't stand for this kind of behavior. By the way, reading their like response, I just thought that second line was really interesting. Harassing people who could be AI adjacent. When people are innocent, they immediately will come out and state, I never used AI. I did not paint over AI. I did not trace AI, or something of the sort. But instead, Mage says, I have a problem with people who think it's okay to harass people that could be AI adjacent. When I interpret this, I read between the lines, and to me, this sounds like a pseudo admission in a way. They never explicitly admitted it. They never explicitly said anything about AI in their work here. So that's not what I'm saying. But they're saying, like, I have a problem with people, blah, 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 could be AI adjacent, which would imply that they're referring to themselves, as in they could be AI adjacent. Well, if you're an artist, why are you AI adjacent? Unless you've used AI in some part of your process. They continue. If anyone's wondering why I haven't responded to anything right now, days prior I had work as a caregiver for disabled kids, so the last thing I need is to be mad over internet drama, so I ignored notifications, and I used my off hours to draw. I wanted to silently ensure the people who might be genuinely concerned about the situation that yes, I made the art I am posting by showing speed paints of art I'm drawing, and leave the bad actors without attention. But it seems like things got out of hand. The only thing I ever wanted to do is to make people happy by posting art, not engaging in Twitter fights, but it looks like I have no choice. Also, if you did commission me and for whatever reason you aren't happy, refunds are available. I ultimately want to make art to make people happy. It all started with the Rosalina post. I knew a Mario Galaxy Direct is coming up, so I wanted to make something special. I wanted to experiment and mix the illumination art style with my own style, and it resulted in the Rosalina you saw. This is, again, the wording is a bit confusing, because, like, maybe this is me with my giant tinfoil hat. I should honestly make one so I can just put it on when I'm, like, talking conspiracy theories. To mix the illumination art style with my own style, and it resulted in the, like, this is what AI bros say, you know? AI bros are like, yeah, I mixed the Studio Ghibli style with Spider-Man, and this is what it created. When AI bros talk about generating images, they talk about it in a one step removed from me type way. And to me, my tinfoil hat is like tingling. Kind of sounds like this. Mage adds, it blew up. It seems a lot of people enjoyed it. It makes me happy seeing a wide variety of people like something I made. I recently got serious in making art, so seeing it go outside my comfort zone work out so well was nice. And then this is where I got really confused. Deli adds, then I saw somebody post this AI video with Grok. It's a bit peculiar, but it's a part of the website we're on, so stuff will happen. Or basically, somebody took their work and they've used Grok to animate it. And then Deli says, if you look at the replies, they got flamed for it. The guy literally used a basic feature attached to the website and got dogpiled. Like, why? It's a harmless video. This is where I'm also confused, because isn't the whole situation the fact that people are suspecting that you have AI assistance in your art process? Not this dude who took one of your pieces and animated it. That sucks. Nobody should be doing that with anybody's artwork without consent. And this is like a deviation tactic that people use when they're under scrutiny if they are guilty. I don't know if Dele is, right? I don't know them. I have not seen into their art process. We can only speculate. But it is a tactic that's used to try to like divert attention to something else so the attention is off of them. But my second thing is, most artists who genuinely make their work would be livid that somebody took their work and ran it through AI. Again, I can't speak for all artists. There likely are artists who are okay with people animating their work using Grok or other AI models without permission. It's just not a common stance you see artists take. So here Deli is saying that they're okay with their artwork being run through AI, their artwork. And again, my tinfoil hat theory is feeling like the only reason you're probably okay with this is maybe because the art isn't legitimately created by yourself. Because if you hand painted that and somebody put it through AI, you would probably be livid. But I guess that's just me. So Mage adds, he then DM'd me being distraught about it, asking if I got grief over it. He had zero ill intentions and he was harassed so much he felt the need to ask me about it. Grok is literally just a part of Twitter, but it elicits so much hate if you use it for some reason. I wonder why. So the individual says that their art was outstanding and they posted it to celebrate, and Dele says that they didn't take any offense. Then Dele adds, I can understand disliking it, but what about it justifies making him feel actually like he did something wrong? It's okay to express disinterest, but making him feel legitimately awful about it is not right. And Dele adds that they didn't want to make the situation worse, so they didn't do anything. And as the post is getting bigger, there's random accusations of AI and that they've ignored it. But then posts like the one I just showed you started showing up. And Deli adds that they realize things are getting out of hand and they should probably stop paying attention for notifications. So regarding some critiques that the accounts had, Deli adds that first off, it's art. It doesn't have to have realistic lighting. It's meant to look nice. And errors doesn't mean that it's okay to accuse and harass somebody because they dared to post something that's imperfect. And that it's art. It doesn't have to have realistic zippers and lighting. The only goal is for it to look appealing. It's not the end of the world to have anatomy mistakes, whatever. Okay, you can have an anatomy mistake here or there. Artists will make choices to make the post or the art piece more visually appealing, even if it's breaking some anatomy rules. Rules are meant to be broken in these realms. But this also sounds like what AI bros would say. They always say things like, it's art, it doesn't have to be realistic, it's just to look appealing. Or I just generate art because I just want stuff that looks good. Like they use like strong visuals or attractive visuals as the main justification for things. Not saying it can't be used as a justification. It's just something that I have heard the AI bros use. And Mage adds, also, can somebody explain to me why it's fine to feed some random person's art without permission to an AI so you can accuse me and harass them just because you suspect them of being potentially AI? Am I the only one who sees the hypocrisy? And I guess that's referencing Hive, which is like an AI checker that's used to determine whether a piece is potentially AI generated or not. But again, I just think it's so interesting because in this entire statement, Delhi keeps referencing themselves in proximity to AI, right? They say potentially AI in referencing to themselves. There wasn't a single thing of like, I never used AI, I did not use AI, whatever. They never addressed the actual point. And other people are adding, address the main thing. You are charging people for non-AI work. There should be no issue if you put AI assisted. People will get the message and have no reason to get mad at your creative process. Every single work in progress shows a gap in skill considerable compared to the end result. And Ben quote retweeted that and added, you made this whole thread only to not address the time lapses, barely address the commissions, and comparing my actions to bad actors when all I'm doing is trying to get people not scammed. Are we ignoring the alternate version looking like this and suddenly going back to the old art style? Because again, this is the alt version. This was artwork posted today. The guitar is not even straight. Again, nothing wrong if you draw like this normally. This looks hand painted. A speed paint was added with this piece to show that this was hand painted. There's no way these pieces were created within like the same week by the same person. It's false advertisement essentially. Ben adds, which you conveniently did not post, knowing the huge discrepancy between the art style, thinking you would get away with it because you thought your clients would simply accept they've been lied to. I've talked with your clients to make sure I could hear their story first. I never planned a witch hunt, but I also do not like seeing people get deceived by real bad actors who are ruining this environment for the rest of other artists who are struggling to find clients. If there's a need for me to say something else, then I'll be there. For now, I'm glad you're at least accepting refunds. Next time, make it clear you're using AI-assisted tools for your work rather than making half-assed fake work in progresses. Good night. And I think this is the biggest issue at the end of the day, right? Love or hate Gen AI. People are like completely split on the fence about it. You guys know where I stand. But this is like active deception because you are marketing yourself as a real, genuine artist who hand painted everything start to finish. And allegedly, you are not. Allegedly, you have used AI in parts of your art process, and this is a deal breaker for a lot of people, right? A lot of clients would not want to commission you knowing this. And you know this as well, which is why you never disclosed this, which is why when people were asking for work in progresses, you were sending stuff like this that looked like it was faked after the fact to try to like have the piece pass as legitimate. Because if you're truly okay with using AI in your process and you're truly proud of it, why not just admit it? Why not come clean and say, yep, I've used AI in your process and show that instead of sending fake work in progresses? By sending a fake work in progress like this, you know what you're doing is not going to be accepted by people. And you know there's clients who will not be okay with this. And you're doing this to deceive them. That is the issue. It's the deception behind it. If you came clean and was like, yep, AI assisted, whatever, then people now have the full information to make an educated decision as to whether they do want to move forward and commission you or not. But this is all speculation at the end of the day, right? Because we don't have an official confirmation of them admitting it. So I'm curious as to your thoughts, what you think about this process. For me, the big one is the fact they made a big statement and they never explicitly said they didn't use AI. Again, everybody who's innocent will basically declare innocence whenever given the opportunity, for the most part. And even people who have traced AI will go and make a statement and lie and say they never did. And there's people who have done that and then got caught. There was literally a case I talked about like maybe a month, 2 months ago, where they like did that. They adamantly stated they never used AI and then DM somebody being like, help me fake a work in progress. I just want people to get off my back. So yeah. Also, sorry, in a different outfit, but Ben had posted some updates about their final words for their subject, and I felt like it was necessary to share. So Ben adds, hello, wanted to add some extra words in the situation and why I felt it had to be addressed. First, I want to apologize if I came out as abrasive or if the thread didn't fully cover the issues I had with Mage. Sadly, that's just the way Twitter is formatted and leaves little room to have a serious convo, which is why I want to express myself like this. At first, I didn't believe the artist used any sort of AI assistance. It may have been a sudden skill growth spurt art and understanding of art, as these things tend to happen. Over time, it became clear things weren't right, and it wasn't just me. The artist has already been talked about by at least 3 of my art friend groups and other spaces without anyone daring to speak publicly. Unfortunately, the evidence of any AI tool use or simply tracing seems to be more obvious by the day, especially when one client reached out to other artists to issue their concerns. At least 2 of them were planning on warning any potential clients because of the obvious amounts of inconsistencies with their pieces. Before doing any baseless accusations, I wanted to reach out to more people, including people who are defending Mage, to hear their point of view and try to contact clients. That being said, I was surprised by the amount of evidence given by clients who were afraid to speak out on the matter. We are talking fake work in progresses, which from an artist's point of view lack any logical process or straight contradict the process of every time lapse, which I apologize for not elaborating fully to people who aren't usually familiar with the art commission process. As for clients, most of them want to pay the artist and leave it like that. They felt defrauded because they were never warned about the usage of tracing or AI assisted images. That's when I knew something had to be done. Mage needed to address the situation or at least refund affected clients, which he thankfully is doing. Please don't harass him over this as he's dealing with this privately. As for how I feel about the artist, I'm genuinely sad he had to go through the easy route because his early art was genuinely endearing, and he's shown to have good skills. Those last 2 pieces show it perfectly. It just isn't on the level with pieces from October and the commissions. It pains me to see them pressured by the overwhelming nature of social media. I have been there, I was a small account too, and had to learn from scratch out of pure necessity. I'm happy I've met great people over the years who helped me grow not just as an artist, but as a person, and I would have loved to see him grow as well. What really didn't sit right with me is the fact Mage started monetizing this easy route, taking advantage of goodwill of the community, to people who I had the pleasure to work with. I understand the pressure of wanting to improve and keep up with your peers, but don't screw over people while taking their time and money of the process. This not only is affecting clients, but newer artists who are struggling to get clients, who now need to be more careful and less willing to work with new people who are improving over time. That's pretty much it. I hope you understand this behavior affects more people than you think. I'm happy to have the privilege to have recurring clients, but it's simply not the reality for talented people out there. That being said, I want to apologize to Mage and other people who think I'm on a witch hunting campaign. I'm not used to speaking out, and I should have expressed myself better on the thread. I didn't consider the idea of zooming in and pointing out every single inconsistency, as it felt like a huge waste of time. Because I was mainly concerned about the people who are directly affected, and I'm more than satisfied knowing they're getting the right refunds they deserve. Most of this could have been avoided if you were fully transparent to your clients about your art process. If this kept happening and I didn't say anything, then someone else would eventually have. That's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Thank you for reading. So, at the end of the day, that eventually is it. Please don't send hate to any parties involved. But if you do look at the art account, right, like they've gone back to drawing in their original style, and their original style is really cute. They have this piece of Daisy. They've also attached again the speed paint to follow it up. They have this sketch of Peach. And I love their art. The art is really cute. It sucks they, wanted to be lazy and cut corners and go down the AI route, but I'm really glad that they kind of like reeled back and realized, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. And they went back to committing to continue to create art, right? Because I don't want to see an artist stop drawing and do it in their original style, which has so much charm. So don't send hate to any parties. Don't send hate to this individual. They've clearly learned and they've clearly gone back to making art the legitimate way, and we love this for them. So yeah, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there like emotes and overlays, and a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So yippee, I hope to catch you guys in one of my Twitch streams or in another video.